Okay, so I've got everything pre-sprayed. I haven't put the gel on there yet because it would also have to wait for 10 minutes and I'm gonna need to extract this before that and I need to do it now. So I'm gonna start in that corner and when you use the wand, you want to overlap. So if you noticed when I was using the agitator, it left a triangle pattern. It's kind of like when you mow your lawn, you want to overlap a little bit each time and go in nice even lines. For one thing, you make sure you don't miss anything that way, but also when you're done extracting, it leaves a very attractive pattern in the carpet, and so the next time the marketers come in and show the room, it looks really professional. Okay, so okay, so you have the trigger and you have your handle. You don't need to, it's not necessary at all to push down on this. You can extract one-handed and just, move this back and forth. It goes easier when you're running water through it, but for some kinds of carpet, it will, if you have like a thicker weave and that kind of thing, it might bind, and that's where you kind of need the handle sometimes, but most of the time it's not necessary. So just let the weight of the wand do that part of it. And then, just like with the mini extractor I was showing you in the other video, you have your T-jets that are behind the vacuum slot. So you want to squeeze the trigger on the backstroke. And I used a spray painting analogy earlier. If you've ever used a spray gun to do a car or motorcycle or something, then you want to start moving the wand first. Just, a fraction of an inch is enough. But start moving it first and then squeeze the trigger and then release the trigger before you stop moving. Because if you go trigger, move, stop moving, release the trigger, then you'll leave like more water at the beginning and the end of your stroke, and that'll take longer to dry, and it'll look weird when it does dry. And because the longer the carpet dries, the worse it looks usually, because if you visualize the fingers on my hand as carpet fibers, let's say, there's dirt down here by my knuckles that you're not going to get out when you clean. So when this is wet, that stuff can wick up to the top. So if sometimes when there's a really bad spill, you'll clean it and it'll look good, and you come back the next day to look at it and it's come back. That's because you cleaned the top layer of it, and then if it was a bad stain that went all the way down to the base, you're gonna have to keep cleaning it until it's done wicking. And then, sometimes that can be considerable, so it's frustrating, but know that if you run into a stain like that, it will come out eventually. So, you won't be able to hear me speak when I turn this on, so I'm just gonna do a couple passes and then I'll probably shut the camera off, because I'll be paying attention to what I'm doing with the cleaning and not checking to see if I'm on camera, and I don't think after you see it run for a minute, you will have learned everything you can from that anyhow. So, okay. hopefully you can see that this is the kind of crusty area that I said I was going to have to come back and use the gel solvent on. And I was, I had done my passes in the corner and then I came over here just to do a little bit of work. As I was coming back and doing my regular passes, I could feel that it had softened up quite a bit when I ran the wand over it, and I could just see that more stuff was coming up. So it did soften up from the hot water and the chemicals that have been sitting on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just I'll leave the camera on. I won't talk because you won't be able to hear me, but I'm just gonna run the wand over that slowly, and we'll see if that comes the rest of the way out, because the solvent can damage the carpet, so if you can get away with not using it, you're a step ahead. So I'm going to take my bone scraper that I showed you in the pot cleaning video as soon as I locate it. Here we go. There we go. I'm just going to agitate that to help loosen up the fibers. You have to be a little bit careful with these, and I'm going to switch to the round end because you can start to remove carpet fiber if you get too animated while you're working the bone scraper on something like this. Let's see, was there any more? No, I think that's it. So I'm going to make a couple more passes and that should be good to go. So, hopefully I'm pointing this to where this all makes sense, but that's the kind of pattern you should be looking for, and hopefully you'll agree that it looks a lot better than when we started. Okay. I'm actually going to leave this for today because I want to see what that looks like tomorrow, because it was a pretty nasty stain and I was talking about how things wick up again. So I'm just going to let that sit for a day and we'll see how it goes. Before I am going to put a fan on this, and I want to talk to you all a little bit about fans. So I'll be right back. Okay, so because time is a factor and I've talked about how we want to get the carpets dry as quick as we can. I know Jared has bought these from many of the other communities. If you have a different kind of fan, that's perfectly fine. So these, if you have them, this points straight down and it creates like a 10-foot radius cushion of air. So this is really good for the middle of a room or an area that's too small to fit one of these in. So if you're doing an occupied apartment, let's say, maybe the resident has spilled a drink next to their bed. Let's say they have about a 2-foot walkway between the edge of their bed and the closet. So, or maybe even narrower than that. If they crammed a king size bed into an apartment, that doesn't leave you a lot of space. But if you have to extract in an area that small, you can usually fit one of these fans in that area. Or if I'm doing a room, I usually close the closet doors, and I will not extract inside of closets. The only time I do that is if I know that there has been a pet that has had accidents inside that closet, because then trying to get the closet dry without having it mildew can be problematic. You don't have the airflow in the closet. Depending on the kinds of doors you have, but we have like the double sliders, and it's hard to get the air moving through there to get the closets dry. Most of the time people don't spill drinks in the closet, so we'll vacuum that well, but I don't usually do the extraction in there. So this is for small spaces and the middle of rooms. And then these are much more powerful. This is good for doing hallways where the nurses here at Mountain Glen, they like to steal these from us in the summertime when it's hot. Because they'll want to set one at one end of the hall and the other one down at the other end of the hall because it keeps it a lot cooler. But these have a tilt to them. Let's see if this shows up. If you can see, this end is lower because the air goes this way and it's meant to kind of skim along the ground that way. In fact, they have arrows on the top that show you which way to point these, but the way these are kind of meant to be used is that you put them next to a wall at an angle. So when you're doing a room, if a hallway, maybe not that big of a deal because the air is going to spread out anyway. But in a room, you point it to the wall, you close the closet door, the bathroom door, the hallway door, and then the air is going to bounce off that wall and bounce off that wall. And if it's a large room, sometimes I'll do 2 of these. So I'll put one over there, and they'll both be going either clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't matter. But you get a pretty good cyclone of air going around, and that movement's going to dry the carpet. And you add one of the small fans in the middle of the room, and you're all set. Most of the time, I just do a big one and a small one, and I might need to move the big one to the other side an hour later, but most of the time I don't, and it's just fine. So you don't have to have like the air going directly on it 6 inches away from it to get a spot dry. You just need to get the air moving around. It'll take care of itself. So that's it for today. If y'all have any questions, you can email me at tylerb@cascadeliving.com, or you can give me a call up here at area code 360-424-7900. I have trained the front desk people that I'm busy all the time because I have a lot of salesmen that just pester the heck out of me and it drives me nuts. So if you call, make sure you let them know it's George from Desert Hills or wherever, so that they'll make sure they know that you're calling from another Cascade Living community. So that's it. I will see you later. Bye.